Good morning, I'm Earth Dr. Reese Halter, and you're listening to Earthcast, SOS.com. We live in a global village, and what we do to our atmosphere in America has unintended consequences in all four corners of the world. So yesterday, while the Supreme Court temporarily blocked the Obama administration's rules to reduce the national electricity sector's fossil fuel footprint by an estimated 32% below the 2005 levels by 2030, the oceans are supercharged with man-made fossil fuel heat. Since the oceans drive our climate, we're beginning to witness global food security issues compounded by dying honeybees. South Africa is in the midst of the worst drought since 1982, and it's ravaging the nation with no relief in sight. No rain means no maize, which is a staple food for most of southern Africa's poor. For the first time, South Africa is looking at importing maize, which will drive up food prices, cost farmers their livelihoods, and widen the gap between rich and poor, black and white. The maize shortage is also having an impact on neighboring countries like Zimbabwe and Malawi, which rely heavily upon South Africa's maize crop. In 1982, South Africa's population was 29 million. Today, there are over 55 million South Africans. That's a 47% increase. The last time the rainfall was this low was in 1904. The population then was 5.1 million peeps. Maize is being grown over 2.9 million acres, and approximately 500,000 of those acres are irrigated. That's according to the director for the Bureau of Food and Agriculture Policy. This is the lowest number of planted maize acres since 1932, when the population was 9.4 million people. Maize feeds people and animals. The El Nino has delivered a brutal blow to the parched lands. And it's not just maize that's in shocking shape. Peanuts are predicted to decline by 48%, soybeans by 27%, dry beans by 52%. And if this isn't worrisome enough, my colleagues in South Africa are deeply concerned for the $1.6 billion in agricultural commerce that depend directly upon honeybees for pollination. Heat waves, droughts, deadly neonicotinoid insecticides, and a lethal beekeeping bacteria called American foul brood is wreaking havoc with traditionally tough African honeybees, which had been resistant to disease but are now sick of humans, with the population of these crucial pollinators collapsing. The global concern is yet another unintended consequence of using over 2 billion pounds of neonicotinoid insecticides each year on soil life. Dutch toxicologist Dr. Henk Tennekees forewarned us in his excellent book, The Systemic Insecticides, A Disaster in the Making. The URL is disasterinthemaking.com, that soil life dies when neonicotinoids are used, and there's a knock-on effect. Now, from Kurfeld, Germany, entomologists have recently recorded soil insects from 2 places in a nature reserve that have declined by 75% since 1989. My colleagues there are warning that all insect-eating animals are threatened with extinction, and all ecosystem services, including pollinators, decomposition processes, and soil fertility, will all come under threat. The immediate knock-on effect from the worst South African drought in memory is that a quarter of the population of neighboring Zimbabwe is facing food shortages, and South Africa, which normally exported maize and other crops, cannot do so. Now, almost 2.5 million people in Zimbabwe face food insecurity. So far, 16,500 cattle have perished in this drought, and 75% of crops have been abandoned in the worst hit areas. The United Nations World Food Program says 14 million people across southern Africa are facing food insecurity. What the justices at the U.S. Supreme Court fail so far to understand is that the more we burn fossil fuels, the more global food insecurity we all face. Ladies and gentlemen, we are all one. It's time for us to collectively act on behalf of our planet and the children. Protect all bees. Hashtag ban neonicotinoids now. Hashtag love nature. Hashtag love is the solution. All for one and one for all. Earthcast SOS depends upon you, its listeners. Visit drreese.com, 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 and make it happen by clicking on the donate button, or pick yourself up any number of splendid books on bees, trees, and seas. Just do it. drreese.com. I'm Earth Dr. Reese Halter, reminding you to protect our planet.